Have you ever wondered what games you should keep or you should lose? Find out here at Purge Reviews. Have you ever wondered what games you should sell or you should use? Find out here at Purge Reviews. Find out on our top 10 list what games you cannot miss. Don't forget to subscribe to Purge Reviews.
Briefcase, I believe, was a slight deck builder game on Kickstarter. It is set in a unique or underappreciated or under-thematic game where you're a business person buying things and creating companies. I don't know. I mean, it's called Briefcase. You would think this would be a game about a briefcase. It has nothing to do with briefcase. There's not a briefcase in this game. It's some kind of bizarre deck building, but it's not. You can kind of add some cards to your deck, and you're drawing 4 instead of the normal 5 or 6, and you can use those cards to buy buildings, but those buildings don't go in your deck. This is a weird purchasing game. Weird doesn't mean bad. Weird means off-putting and different, perhaps, in this regard. It's not a very strong game. The more you play it, the more you kind of like it. And I'll show you the full of the game with the little action cards. They're very generic. The different businesses are neat. They all work a little bit differently. That's kind of cool. And activating them and buying the cards, it's almost like the game doesn't get started fast enough. So you're left with this experience of right when cool things starts happening, the game is ending. This is a game you can totally skip. It's okay. If you play it, you may have fun. You may, wow, this is a decent little game at the right price. You know, there's budget concerned people that, you know, have a very limited budget and you find this cheap. I don't know what the price of it's going for. You may look at this and say, wow, then this is not a bad purchase. For those of us that play a lot of games, I don't think this is the game that's going to captivate you or stun you. The theme actually does attract me, so it got me into the game. But I can't say it's very interesting, and so much is going on, you never fully know who's winning or losing, or you just kind of count everything up at the end, I guess. I'm not sure decisions are going to dictate the winner and the loser. Maybe. Because it's really, the only difference between me and you is how I shuffle the cards up. Because the buildings are the buildings, and the majority of them are going to be bought, and they do kind of stuff. So maybe if I got this earlier, I played a little smarter. Maybe. But I think if you had the same set of 8 cards and you played over and over and over again, a dominant strategy could be found. With the variety and the mixing and matching, it may be difficult to find the dominant strategy every single time, but I think it can be found. And I think that it's more of a variety than it is good decisions, if you will. There are decisions in the box. It's a fine game. You know, it's a 4 to 6 to me on BGG. It's okay. The artwork is neat. I like how it's black and white and then colored on the other side. That's neat. I just found really the obstacle cards were mostly useless, and for some reason there's this weird blocking mechanism going with all the cards, so you couldn't really buy what you wanted unless you happen to draw 2 of the same, and sometimes they gave you a hard decision, like, do I use these 2 buys? You always buy something if you can. You would never use 2 buys to move a blocking card. It doesn't seem like you would. It would be very unique that you would. You want to use the obstacle cards for those, but then you also want to get those out of your decks. I don't know. I didn't really like the blocking thing either. Even so, Briefcase is a solid, if not spectacular game. It is disappointing. It's going to be a purge for me. I don't need this. I don't want this. It can go on by. That's Briefcase. Definite purge. Okay, so here's Briefcase. You get a very exciting cover art with this man who I guess represents you getting ready to do business. and you have these buildings going up, and you have people walking by. So very dynamic. You're going to get a pretty average size box here. Looks pretty good. Multiple languages on the back. I believe this is a Kickstarter game. So mine is going to be all bagged up with a ton of cards inside. I'll go through everything. Mine at least didn't have an insert, but I do get a couple of advertisements here for other games that they have. I'm going to have the rule book in 3 different languages. One in particular to me is English. You're going to have a icon reference sheet on the back, which I guess is helpful. Mine's been eaten by somebody. List of cards and kind of an explanation with kind of how the game plays. The rule book's okay. You're going to get this little player aid, which isn't necessary, but you can give up buy cards to get victory points, I suppose. This really just holds cards. That's all it does. You're going to get a number of these company squares, and they're going to be double-sided, one with color showing you've activated it, and the exact same thing on the other side, unactivated, just non-color. And you're going to get quite a bit of these, 11 ones and 2s, orange and reds. I wish they would use something other than orange and red, but so be it. They didn't. I don't think they're close enough where you'll get confused. Now you get 4 of each, so there's a lot of different ones in here to give you some variety. And then you're also going to have some randomizers like this. So, tells you how many of each type, so for 2, 3, or 4. So basically everybody can buy 1 card. And you can just shuffle up the randomizers and have it random if you want. So lots of those. You're going to get a lot of these product cards, and you're going to use a certain number. This is paper. They're all language independent, but you'll use a number of these during the game. These are personnel that you'll hire. Okay. And then you're going to have energy. And these cards are small, which is actually fairly nice. Everybody's going to get one of these. These are the victory point cards, and there's a certain number, depending on how many people you're playing. And this just is... This card is really just useless. It's really just tell you what color you are, which has no bearing in the game, I guess. I don't know, it's really silly. Some more victory points. You're going to get cards that will block these goods from being purchased. These will block buildings from being purchased. And you got energy, which is one of the resources that does not leave the game. It'll be there the entire time. And then you have the wild card resource. That is any one of the 4. Concrete, steel, personnel, or paper. And these have a little bit higher cost in the game. And then you're going to have your steel and your concrete. I don't know why they have the picture and then the icon when it's just the same thing. But maybe that helps somebody out. I don't know. And then you're going to have the main cards that will be filling up your deck. I don't know. These have kind of a weird feel to them. They're nice. You're going to have black corners, which I know some people don't, but they are rounded. They all have the same look on the back, so in your hand you can't tell what's coming up. But these are the higher cards. They all look the same. You have the obstacle cards that all look the same. Then you have activate cards, which will allow you to activate buildings, and buy cards that will allow you to buy things. These cards are fairly good. I just don't like the black corners that's going to have. But otherwise, the components are fairly nice. They're not going to blow your mind. The game does take a little bit of a space up. It plays well with 2 to 4. The components are fine. Nothing to get excited about, but okay. The rules in Briefcase are okay. I had some difficulty learning the game, to be honest. You can just be like, hey man, you're just dumb. Maybe. And sure, I'm dumb. That's fine. But I struggled a little bit. Once I put it out and kind of played through it and looked at it, I guess it made a little bit more sense. It's okay. I wouldn't say the rule book is great. I do like the reference at the end. There's just a lot to digest in such a simple game. The rules are okay. I think you can make your way through it. Watching a video or something would probably make you understand the game a little bit better, but average at best in the rule book. Game starts out, you're going to have a number of these businesses set up, unactivated, that you can purchase. To purchase them will require 3 buy. I'll show you that more. But what you're trying to do is activate these by giving up these resources, and you get this benefit. Now, some of these cards, as you will see, will have bonuses on them. And this one can only be used as a light bulb only when you activate it. Otherwise, it's available at all times. This one allows you to take any 3 of these resources and turn them into personnel. This one, any 3 resources into paper. So these are really important ones. And whoa, there's steel. This one says any 2 cards can be a buy card. Any 2 resources. So you're trying to buy these businesses. Everybody starts out with a power plant, which will be inactive. So you kind of start the game out. You need to get steel and a personnel. When you get that, you will play an activate card, give up these resources. You will flip the card over to the colored side, and you will receive 2 energy. So the way the game is set up, you're going to start out with 3 activate cards, 3 buy cards, and 6 obstacle cards. Obstacle cards are pretty useless, but I'll show you how they work. So you will shuffle your deck up, and you will draw 4 cards. And this will be your hand. I have 3 obstacles and a buy. Now, when the game starts out, you will have the wild cards. These don't come out until a resource deck is empty, so these will be set aside. Then you have paper, personnel, steel, and concrete. When the game starts out, 2 of these will not be available to purchase, and you will have energy which never runs out and can never be blocked. In addition, you have 2 block cards, so 2 buildings will not be able to be purchased. So one thing you do is that any 2 cards, and usually this with obstacles, you'll give up 2 cards, discard, and you can move this around. So when do you get steel and personnel? So, because I want to activate my power plant, which will be sitting down in front of me. So, moving that is important. So, with a buy card, I can do a few things. With a buy card, I can buy one of these resources. So, I'll buy the personnel. And I'll have that card now. I can only have, at most, 5 of these resources in my hand when my turn is over. And I have 1 obstacle card left that is useless. So at that point, I would draw 4 more cards, and the next player would go. When it come back around on my turn, I could do these things. So let's say I wanted to buy the steel. So now I have steel and personnel. I could use my activate card and discard it. Spin these. Now, what's important to note is these resources only a certain amount in the game based on number of players. When I give these up, they come out of the game because this will trigger the game when there's only 2 of these left. So these will come out of the game, and I will be able to flip over my power plant, thus getting 2 energy. Energy never count against the 5 you can hold over, so I can have these to do. So I still have an activate and a buy card. So if you look at these cards, I'm going to show you a couple of them really quickly. They will be black. I'm going to show you the colored side just because they're nicer looking. You're going to have a cost up here. So this is how many buy cards you have to discard to get rid of. So I have an activate and a buy card. So I can only buy the one that says 1. I don't have 2 buy cards left. So I will buy this construction card, and then it goes face down. So now I need energy and steel. I already have an energy. I just granted one, but I don't have steel. So I can't use this activate card. So I will discard it and drawing 4 more cards. The other players will take their turns and it'll come back to me. Well, I don't have anything I can do on my turn. So I would discard, shuffle my deck, and draw 4 more and wait. Everybody goes. And there's a lot of times you don't have anything to do. Well, great. I got a buy card, which buys are super important. I'm going to get that steel that I need. I have an activate card. I will give up my energy and steel. Steel comes out of the game. Energy is reusable. And I will then activate my construction crew, which gives me a buy card. I know that from this icon. So now I have the power plant and construction company active, and I get a buy card. Now if I wanted to, I could continue to buy more of these, these will give me victory points at the end of the game. I could reactivate this by playing an activate card, having energy and steel, and I get another buy card. And then this is always available to me. So concrete is now easy because I have a construction company. I can always have concrete. And some of these things will be like more powerful. So here's a brokerage form. I'll just show you the color. It's worth 4 victory points. I have to give up paper, steel, energy, and personnel. But I get an obstacle card. I get one of these higher cards. And I get 2 additional buy cards. And when I activate it, I can utilize this power. So there's a lot going on. I think the way to win is to normally try to buy these cards. And they're only worth victory points if you're able to activate them. There are some ways for other people to deactivate them, thus losing victory points and the power. But that may not happen if those particular companies are not out. That's Briefcase. It is a deck builder of really just 3 cards, because you're not building those companies to go in your deck. These don't go in your deck. These kind of go face up and have powers you can activate. So really you're only buying the activate, obstacle, and buy cards. The obstacle cards are fairly useless in my opinion. There are some companies that could come out that will utilize them. Otherwise, they're just good for getting doubles and moving this buy thing around. So you have 2 cards and you can do. You might just want to move this around to screw somebody. If one of these decks comes empty, one of these will come off. And keep in mind, you have 2 blocks for the resources and 2 blocks for the companies. The one for the companies are fairly useless. I just kind of roll around it. It seems like you can buy whatever you want. You'll always have some useless obstacle cards. And that's Briefcase. Oh, one last thing. You can activate, you can discard as many buy cards as you want. Remember, buy cards are probably the most important cards you're going to have. That's how you get anything. If you don't have any buy cards, you're dead. For a number of buy cards you give up, you can get victory points for the end of the game. There's only a certain amount there, and that deck is it's another trigger to the end of the game. So by giving up those buy cards, you can get victory points. So there's kind of a timing thing. You don't want the game to end with a bunch of buy cards in your deck. You want to activate and get rid of as many as possible. Remember, some companies will give you more cards, but most of the time you're just going to have 4 cards. So if you have to activate, the most you give up on a turn theoretically would be 3 and get 3 victory points. So based on number of players, we'll tell you how many cards in that deck. So the only way to score victory points is that way, or buying these companies and then activating them. So that's Briefcase. Who should buy this game? One, the theme would speak to you, so you'd really like this business theme, although it's very abstract and very bizarre. Going from a Briefcase title to buying and activating, like, it's just very bizarre. If you like deck builders and looking for something a little bit different, this might be it. I just think with the glut of deck builders, there's some really good ones on the market, and this isn't it. It's kind of like trains where you're deck building kind of, but you're doing something else over here. Like on trains, you're putting the trains on the tracks, and this one you're getting these companies and you're kind of doing something a little bit different. That's unique, and I do like the different company powers and how they work together, and finding that synergy between them is very unique. But then you might get a set of companies that really don't have any synergy, and so be it. So maybe that has more to do with like picking the right companies to work together. I wonder how the game would be if you just put them all out there and you had a different ending condition where you had a lot more, but that might be overload of choicing. Still just the same. I would say this is a definite try. I would say if it's at the right price, maybe when you want to jump on it because of the right price, but it's a definite try. If you see it at a con, maybe you want to try it out. But I think you can totally skip this one and not miss a much. That's Briefcase. Purge.